Hey, it's Phil from smilinggardener.com, and we're talking about biointensive gardening in this series of lessons. And so far we've looked at soil preparation. Growing biointensively means double digging the soil and using compost to really improve the health and fertility of the soil. Then we talked about how much land to devote to each kind of crop, and with growing biointensively, it's about 60% of land to making your composting crops, so using cover crops and then composting them, and then 30% of land to your calorie-rich crops like potatoes, and then just 10% of land to vegetables. So that's how they do it with growing biointensive. Now we're going to get into some planting lessons, and the first one is something that I very much agree with, and that is planting very intensively. And what that means is planting things really close together. And the reason you do that is because we can get a bigger harvest overall. We may not get as big of a, say, a cabbage plant as if we had given it more space, but overall we'll get more harvest from that area. But also what we get is a blanket, like a living mulch over the soil, where we can, which will decrease weed growth and decrease evaporation and just provide us with a bigger harvest. So it makes a lot of sense to do that. What they do is they go into quite some detail on how to plant intensively. And what they use is the triangle method, which is to make or find, if you can find various size triangles, depending on the planting distance you're looking for. So this looks to be about a 6-inch from end to end, which is great for planting onions, because that's a pretty good distance for onions. And then you could make or find other triangles to space things further. And the reason we do that is because we can get about a 15% more plants into a space using triangles, and they're still going to be the same distance apart. If I were to place things in a square pattern, which basically is lines, rows, then that's going to end up being a little bit less efficient. A triangle can be more efficient. Now, I often plant in triangles, whether or not I end up using an actual triangle to place things or whether I just end up eyeballing it. It depends on what I'm doing, but I'll show you what I mean here. So if I place these things with a triangle, they're still going to be the same distance apart as if I had placed them with a square, but it's going to end up being more efficient. Then what I would do is just always keep the triangle like that. So what ends up happening is we still end up having rows, but it ends up being that the plants are alternating. So if this is a row here, then these plants end up alternating between that row. I really have no idea how much you can see here on this camera, but that's the triangle method, also sometimes called the hexagon method, because if you put 6 equilateral triangles all together, it forms a hexagon. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's a lot more efficient, certainly, than the square foot method of positioning things, and it makes a lot of sense. What I'm going to do down below is link to another lesson I have that's going to give you some more tips on how to prepare your garden and sow seed and plant things and do a good job with that. If you're in the full academy, we get all into planting in month 8, and in the Academy Light, we get into planting in month 5. But for everyone else down below, I'm going to link to some more details on how to plant, so go check that out. And that's all for today.